Hello, my name is Amy Natt, and I am the CEO of Aging Outreach Services, and this is All Things Aging.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Tyner. I'm the lead care manager here at Aging Outreach Services.
All right, so Jennifer has come on today. We are going to be talking about how to navigate long distance caregiving. In your many years of being a care manager, I'm sure this is something that you've dealt with. Give us a little example of what is a long distance caregiver.
Anybody that doesn't live in town or very close to their aging adult that they're trying to help care for. This is a retirement community, so we see a lot of older adults who have retired to this area whose family lives completely out of state, sometimes even out of the country. But it's also difficult to care for your loved one, even if you're just in the Raleigh area.
Right.
It can be difficult.
An hour can be a long
An
way
hour
if
can be a long
something's
distance.
happening.
Sure.
And why do you think now? So in the past, right, when we had multiple generations of families that lived on the same farm and whatnot, we really didn't have this dynamic. But what sort of changed over time that more people are ending up in this situation?
Just the difference in families, cultures, and different activities that people are participating in, where they want to live, education. The adult children have become educated, and if they've attended college and they've decided to move away, start their own families instead of coming back home to be with their loved ones.
Right, or like you said, people could have retired here, so their families are back and wherever they're from. So if somebody's to find themselves in a situation where a parent is living out of state, or like you said, it could be in the same state, even an hour away, if you find yourself in that position where you're trying to help support or care from somebody from a distance, what are things you can do to help prepare for that role?
It's important to identify what their needs are. So asking them some of these questions, or asking yourself some of these questions. Do your parents need skilled care? Like, do they need care that would involve somebody else coming into the home or them going into a facility to be able to meet those needs? Do they need help with their personal daily care, bathing, dressing, grooming, those types of things? Do they need help with just transportation or having an extra set of eyes and ears at an appointment to hear what doctors have to say? Do they need any home modifications? Do they need wheelchair ramps? Do they need widened doorways, safety rails in the bathroom? So do they need help with household chores? Are they eating okay? Do they need somebody that can come in and cook for them so that they're getting nutrition?
It's a lot of things. How are you going to know? How do you ask these questions?
Well, I know because of my experience as a care manager,
Okay.
But living out of state or out of town away from your loved one, it's hard to know. It's initiating that conversation with your parents or looking for resources, finding somebody like Aging Outreach in your area who can help with those questions and get to the bottom of those answers to determine what exactly they do need.
Yeah, and I think observation is a lot of it. I know even with my own parents or with clients that I've had, like sometimes when adult children come here to visit, right, we suddenly get a phone call about
around the holidays.
Yeah, around the holidays.
Yeah.
And what is that? Like, what type of things do you think you can observe in the home, especially if someone's not ready for that conversation yet?
When you're there, are your parents taking their meds the way that they should? Do you notice that they're being more forgetful? Are you seeing a lot of scam mail and are they getting a lot of scam calls? Look in their refrigerator.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of expired food in there? Are there healthy options for them? Are they eating okay when you're there with them? Do you have concerns about their day-to-day?
Right.
Can you tell that they're not bathing the way that they should, dressing the way they should? Are you riding in the car with them while they're driving to see how their driving is? Those types of things.
And you're holding on like
Yeah, dear life.
Yeah, I definitely think there are things that when you visit, you can observe. The refrigerator is a great one because they may say they're eating, they may say they're active with friends, but if you go and stay for a week and you find they've worn the same thing
Right.
over and over, or there's not food in the fridge.
No one else is calling because you're there, the one person that calls and checks.
There isn't really a daily golf game.
Right.
Yeah, those are good ways to sort of figure out what's going on. What are different ways? So you said understanding kind of what level of care, what kind of help that person may need. So what's the difference? So we'll go through a couple scenarios. So if your parents are still independent, you go visit, they do seem to be active, but they're starting to get a little bit older. What are ways you can prepare or provide support for a family member who is still pretty independent, doing things for themselves, still safely driving, but you still want to kind of keep tabs on what's going on?
I would say making sure that you have the information that you need should there be a crisis.
Okay.
So, like, who are your parents' doctors? Who are the primary care doctor? What medications are they taking? What type of medical issues do they have? Who is their power of attorney? Who do they want to make decisions for them should an accident happen and they be unable to do that? What are their end of life wishes? That's a tough conversation to have. Do they want to be on a feeding tube, ventilator, all the extra things, or do they want to be, no extreme measures, right. Do not resuscitate, and just knowing what their wishes are. That's a good way to start when somebody's independent and managing well on their own. But it's having that plan in the back of your head to know that a crisis can happen any second of any day.
So you're kind of gathering information, which is much easier to do when they're independent than when they're in a crisis.
Right, right. Unfortunately, a lot of people will wait until there is a crisis and they don't know where to find those documents. You know? So just knowing where those things are can be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, that happened to us. My sister and I recently, our father ended up in the hospital having bypass surgery, and it wasn't planned, and we didn't know his doctors, and we didn't know what meds he was on, and we had to scramble to find out a lot of that.
During a crisis, it makes it harder.
Yeah. What about compared to, say there's a parent where you've noticed they are no longer driving, maybe they're not able to cook meals, they've lost weight, so they actually need hands-on help, but you're still at a distance trying to support them. What are things then that you might do?
Find out about the local resources that are available to them. Is there a home care agency that you can reach out to? Again, care management is a fantastic way to start, because that person's going to know of all the resources that are available in the area. Look at your senior center to talk to them to find out what is available to the older adult in your area. In their area, since it's not your area, so you can know what resources are available to them, and just having an idea of who to contact when that crisis occurs.
Okay. And then what about, something else I think about with long distance caregiving is you could have mom and dad that are still living independently in their home, but maybe mom is suddenly taking care of dad. So how do you support the parent who is the caregiver? Or maybe you have a sibling that lives in the area and that person's really hands-on, but you're still long distance. What are things you can do to still be active and involved in?
Making sure you are an emotional support system for that person and making sure they're taking care of themselves. It's really hard. I mean, we see so frequently that the well spouse ends up getting sick because of all the stress and care that they've been providing to their spouse or loved one.
Right.
So just encouraging them to take care of themselves, making sure that they're getting their needs met, and being a good support system to them. Yeah. Knowing what resources are available to them too, to help alleviate some of the stress.
And some of those are financial resources. It may be, it could be resources as far as what their support network is of friends and family locally to help. It could be the paid professionals that are going to help. Or
tapping into any type of family that's in the area. Like you said, there might be another sibling in the area. It might just be a cousin. It might just be the ladies that your mom plays bingo with once a week. Knowing those people and having their contact information, tapping into what they're willing and able to help with. And definitely if there's a church affiliation or some kind of service organization that they're a part of, making sure that you can contact them and see what type of resources they can offer your loved one too.
Yeah, and I think it's a particular challenge, and maybe you've dealt with this, but so say you are the adult child coming in from out of state and you're trying to provide support, but the people that are there doing it every day, it can cause a little bit of friction, right? So if you have the person who comes in from out of town and suddenly wants to help and be there and suggest how to do things, and you've sort of got your own routine. So how do you deal with some of those dynamics?
I think just making sure that you're not coming in to try to change things that have happened unless there's something wrong with what's happening. Kind of ask the person that's doing the caregiving, how can I support you, instead of going in and trying to change the way that things are done. Because you're going to leave and that person's still going to be there to provide the care, and just making them feel like you're comfortable with the things that they're providing for your loved one. And if you're not, then reach out to other resources to get people involved. You can adult protective services, or again care management or Department of Aging. Somebody can lead you in the right direction if you have concerns about what type of care your loved one's been getting. But if not, if you understand that they're getting the care that they need and being cared for, then just be supportive of the local caregiver.
Yeah, that's helpful for sure. What about in an example where you said that sometimes people are unfortunately waiting for the crisis, right? And then you suddenly figure out, oh, mom was doing just fine, and then the crisis happens and you're jumping in and navigating, say, a situation where someone's in a hospital or having a medical crisis. When you get to that scenario, do you get on the plane and go? Do you how?
Well, some people can't get on the plane and go financially. Right. They may not be able to afford to take off work and go. So who do they reach out to locally? That's part of the importance of having that information in one spot. We do a full needs assessment where we would put everything in a document for you, so that you would have everything together. We also have a planning guide that we recommend a lot that people use. And it just allows for families to have the important information in one spot. So when that emergency happens, they can care from a distance, or if they have the ability to come and be here in person, great. That's, yes, come.
But then make the most of that time, right? Because sometimes we get in situations where we get the call and the adult child's been here all week and they're leaving tomorrow.
Right.
And they want to know what we can do.
What can we do today?
So yeah, if you do make the time to get there, like you said, tapping into those local resources, a local professional, whether it be informal or formal network of people that can help you with that.
And I think it's important to make sure that you have that open communication with your parents on a regular basis. So are you doing, a phone call can be faked sometimes. We can compensate. You talk to dad, and mom's got some memory issues, and dad says, oh, mom's fine, because he sees it every day. It's hard for him to notice those significant changes. So you being involved in conversations, doing video calls would be great, because you can kind of get an idea then, are they taking care of themselves
video
physically?
Calls are a great idea.
Yeah.
And I've seen, maybe this works better in larger families, but I've seen some success too if all three kids are out of town, or whatever family's involved, and mom or dad have retired here, kind of creating an actual calendar schedule, so people are kind of staggering visits. Yes. So somebody's there once a month or once a quarter. Can things like that be done successfully?
Absolutely.
Coordination, or
building your own care team of people that you trust and know. Again, is it the church? Is it the bingo friends? Is it your cousin? Is it a sibling? Whoever it might be. But yeah, just having, like you said, kind of spreading out those visits. Don't everybody come on the same weekend once every 3 months and nobody be around the rest of the time. Try to spread out your visits and take advantage of the time that you have with them to help.
What would you say are some of the biggest challenges people face with long-distance caregiving?
Communication's really hard between doctors, especially. Even just having 2 separate doctors at 2 separate clinics can be almost impossible, because they don't communicate with each other.
You can't just pick up the phone, call, and get them.
Right. So making sure you're on their medical documents, that, are you on their HIPAA forms? Are you a contact? Where can you reach out to find that information on who to contact when you do need that information? What pharmacy do they use? Those types of things. So.
Yeah, and that makes me think about how has that, I would think it's gotten easier, maybe not, with the ability to do things, online portals, online banking. Like if your parent has given you permission to help them manage things.
Having those passwords and access can be so important to know, what's going on. You can kind of follow up with doctors' notes and what they said. And then just making sure that when they go to the doctor, if there's a new diagnosis or a new medication, they understand what that diagnosis is. They know what medicine is. They've had the ability to get to the pharmacy, pick it up, make the changes. And if not, getting that outside help to help you with those types of things.
Okay, that makes sense. What role do you think does guilt play in long distance caregiving? I would assume, right? Not like you said, not everyone can just uproot whatever's going on. You might have kids that you're also taking care of, or a job that you can't miss. And so I would assume on both the side of the parent not wanting to be a burden, and the sibling or the older adult or whoever is also coming to help the adult child, that there can definitely be some guilt on both sides.
For sure. I'd say it plays a huge role.
Okay.
And also just knowing what what your feelings are towards the situation may not be the same feelings as your siblings or your parents. So making sure that even if you're feeling a little guilty about your parents being here, that you're not overstepping. You're not overstepping, but that you're trying to help. But make sure you're asking them what they want, what they need, so that you can be helpful in a way that's beneficial to them.
Yeah, I think approach makes a big difference.
It does. Not coming in and just taking control over everything just because you feel guilty about how they're living or what their situation is may cause more issues than it does help.
Yeah, if I come in and tell you, you can no longer handle your finances, I'm taking away access, or you can no longer drive, I'm taking away the keys, versus like helping you understand or come to that conclusion on your own so that you can then work together.
Right. We see estrangement's one of the big things we see now, and sometimes that's the issue, is that the adult child tries to come in and take over.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
Should you ask your loved one to relocate? Should they ask you to relocate? I get that question a lot.
Yeah, I think it depends on the family. Every family is very different. I have families who the adult child wants mom or dad to come live closer to them because they are working, they do have children, they want to be helpful, and the parents want the adult child to be helpful. But we also see situations where parents feel like they're a burden if they're going to move closer, and it can be very burdensome to expect that your adult child just
or
gives
like
up their
you
whole
say,
life
maybe
and
there
moves.
wasn't a good relationship earlier years, and maybe it's not going to be an ideal hands-on caregiving situation.
So to answer your question, it depends on the family.
Yeah,
so
I think that's a good.
Yes,
I think
it depends on the situation. So there are situations where sure that works, and then there are that it won't work. So I think knowing your boundaries and knowing your family and the history is
and like
important.
you said, communicating and having those conversations early on.
Before there's a crisis.
Yeah, and that if you choose to stay, like with my parents, right? So I couldn't relocate to where they were, so they could choose to relocate here, or I could offer what assistance I could long distance.
Sure.
But definitely with the understanding that if you're closer, I can be more hands-on. If you're 4 hours away, I'm happy to do what I can over phone and computer and helping with all that. So yeah, I think it's
depending on their situation, if there's not real ties in that area, in their area, if they just retired to that area and now they have nobody, their friends are passing away, and moving is an option that's not going to be burdensome to the family. Yeah, it's definitely a good option. Yeah. It just doesn't work for everybody, so you got to be careful.
And the best way for somebody who's in this position, we talked about. So identifying local resources. So what kind of parting advice would you give somebody? You talked about care management. AgingLifeCare.org has a website that will help you find a care manager basically anywhere in the United States.
Right.
Some places out of the United States. But when you're talking to one of those professionals or the senior center, like what specifically are you asking them? Like what
services do they offer? Can they go out and do that full needs assessment for your loved one so that you can have everything together in that one spot? Kind of a review of everything we've talked about so far. How do I know who my parents' power of attorney is? Where do I find their end of life wishes? Do they have a living will? Those are the types of things that you want to ask that professional. How do I go about doing these things?
Even things like, are there meal programs? Is there transportation services in your area? Are there support groups? Yeah, what's the cost? So I think sometimes the professional is going to know that and can give you that information.
Save you a lot of research time.
A lot of Google searching and kind of guessing in the dark. So yeah, there are people that specialize in helping to identify those resources. So those are definitely people to tap into, whether it be, like you said, the local church or a care manager or Department of Aging. So, okay, well, those are all great tips. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.